This presentation will review what foundational skills are based on the California ELA/ELD framework. Not only are foundational skills essential as a teacher of literacy, but also you need to fully understand what they are for the CalTPA literacy cycle. Foundational skills. The acquisition of foundational skills of literacy is crucial for literacy development. These are the building blocks of reading. So what are they? According to the framework, these include print concepts, phonological awareness, phonics and word recognition, and fluency. So let's break down each one briefly. Print concepts. These are the rules and the features of how written English works. So think about how we read. We read from left to right, from top to bottom. We know that when we look at a page, it is made up of letters. Those letters make up words, and spaces and words make up a paragraph. We can recognize an uppercase from a lowercase and a capital, and when we need punctuation. It's also book handling skills. Do we know how to hold a book? Do we know which way to open it? Where's the front cover? Where's the back cover? All of those are print concepts. Phonological awareness is all about the sounds of the English language. It's the ability to hear sounds, to manipulate the sounds before you even connect them to letters. So this might include hearing and making rhymes, counting syllables in words, hearing the first, middle, or last sounds in a word. What about breaking words into smaller sounds like k, at, and then putting them together, blending them? Cat. What is important to understand about phonological awareness, it is all about sounds. We are not using letters at this stage. Now, phonics is when we do use the letters. Phonics is about associating the correct letter with the correct sound pattern that we hear in our words. So this is when we sound out or decode new words, and when we read them and spell out words when we write. This is when we match the letters to their sounds. We can read them. We're sounding out these words and we're blending them to make them a word. So such as b, big. But now we're using the letters as a guide, where with phonemic awareness, we did not use the letters. So fluency is the ability to read a text accurately, quickly, and with expression. So there are three key factors with fluency that you need to be aware of. One is rate. So that's reading at the speed that sounds natural. So not too fast, not too slow. The other key feature is accuracy, reading the words correctly. And lastly is prosody, reading with the appropriate tone and phrasing. You don't want to sound like a robot, all right? So how do we teach these? Well, with print concepts, a lot of shared reading. So the teacher might be in front of the circle with a large book and highlighting these features, using a tracker to show that we're reading from right to left, showing where the title of the book is, where we start reading, how many words are in a sentence, that kind of thing. Phonological awareness, you can do some rhyming activities, clapping, when we're listening for sounds, and then oral blending and segmenting, like k, at, what's the word? Cat, okay? Now with phonics, this is when we use the letters, so we can do some letter sound mapping. We can do some word building with letter tiles, magnetic letters, and this is also when we introduce the books, like reading decodable books for fluency. Which brings me to fluency. How do we practice fluency? Echo reading is one. Echo reading is usually when the teacher reads a phrase or a sentence, the students repeat. Partner reading is exactly that, just students reading together with a partner or a teacher. And then just repeated readings of short, engaging text builds fluency. When you are writing a lesson on foundational skills, whether it's for a course or for the literacy cycle, you are required to write lessons specifically focusing on foundational skills. You can choose print concepts. You can choose phonological awareness, phonics and word recognition, fluency and spelling. I threw spelling in there because really it's an extension of phonics. If you are sounding out words, you can be writing down those words. And as you're spelling them, you're using phonics as a skill. I want to go back one slide here. There are many more strategies. So if you're thinking about your lessons and what you want to do, the framework, the ELA ELD framework is a great resource. And also, I love the Florida Center for Reading Research. This has student activities. And if you look, like say I will pick kindergarten and first, there are activities on phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, and you can click on them and they have everything you need to do that activity. So I love that. It's a good thing this mentioned vocabulary and comprehension, because if we're going back to our presentation and what you can write lessons on, notice that vocabulary and comprehension are not here. Those are not part of foundational skills. So that is not what you would focus on. And lastly, the sooner children understand and can use the alphabetic system for their own purposes, the more they can engage with text, which is the very point of learning the foundational skills. I hope this video has helped you truly understand and implement foundational skills in your classroom.